Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going deep on a question I think we've all asked ourselves at one point or another. What would it take to become a millionaire by 2025? We're diving into some seriously insightful strategies for reaching significant financial success. And luckily, I've got an expert with me who can break down these complex financial concepts, into bite-sized pieces that we can all actually use.
Sounds good to me.
So to start off, I think it makes sense to understand where you are now and where you want to be. This is something called the performance gap, right?
Yes, exactly. And it's the space we need to bridge to hit those ambitious financial goals.
Okay, so let's unpack this performance gap idea a bit. So it's not just about wishing for $1 million, right? It's about that concrete difference between where you are now financially and that millionaire dream.
That's it. Imagine someone who's constantly struggling financially. Their path is all over the place, peaks and valleys, but never really gaining any consistent ground. Now, contrast that with someone who's consistently working towards millionaire status. I mean, their journey might still have ups and downs, but the overall trajectory is a steady climb. That's the power of actively closing your performance gap.
That makes sense. You know what I find fascinating is that becoming a millionaire isn't about being born with a silver spoon
Mm,
or winning the lottery. Our source material highlights someone who achieved millionaire status in their 20s. And it wasn't because they were some financial genius. They were determined, focused, and absolutely relentless in closing that performance gap. And they literally started with nothing special except that drive.
Yeah, it's incredibly inspiring, right? It proves that with the right mindset and strategies, anyone can achieve significant financial success.
So what are these magical strategies? Where do we even begin?
One of the key takeaways from our source is the concept of the value zone, kind of a framework, a Venn diagram. That helps you pinpoint your sweet spot for financial success.
A Venn diagram for making millions. Okay, Mendries, I'm intrigued. Break this down for me.
So picture three overlapping circles. The first circle represents things you genuinely enjoy doing. The second circle represents things you're actually good at. And the third, things people are willing to pay you well for. The real magic happens when you find that sweet spot right in the middle, where all three circles intersect. That's your value zone.
So it's not enough to just love what you do. You also need to be good at it.
And
Indeed, there needs to be a market demand for it. Makes sense.
yeah,
But can you give me some real-world examples? What happens if you're only in one or two of these circles?
sure. Let's say you land your dream job, something you absolutely love, but it only pays minimum wage. You might be happy, but financially you're not going to get very far. Or imagine you're incredibly skilled at something, like underwater basket weaving, haha, but no one's willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
You've got talent, but no market demand.
And on the flip side, you could end up in a high-paying job that you absolutely hate. Sure, you might be making bank, but at the cost of your happiness and well-being.
Exactly. That's why finding your value zone is so critical. It's about aligning your passions, your skills, and the market demand to create a sustainable path to financial success.
Our source material had an interesting example of this in action. The speaker talked about their love for model helicopters. They were able to combine this passion with their model building skills, and then they started offering valuable advice and products that people were actually eager to pay for. And guess what? It turned into a wildly successful business.
It's a perfect example of how tapping into your value zone can unlock incredible opportunities.
So we've got this idea of the performance gap we need to bridge, and the value zone as our guiding star. So what's next? How do we actually start making those millions?
You need the right vehicles to get you to your financial destination. You need an active vehicle for making money and a passive vehicle for investing it.
Okay, so we've got our vehicles. I like that analogy. So walk me through these different vehicles. What are our options for actually making that active income?
Well, our source material highlighted three main avenues: product-based businesses, content creation, and service-based businesses. Each has its own advantages and disadvantages, of course.
So let's break those down a bit. Product-based businesses, that's everything from physical products to digital downloads, right?
It precisely.
Okay. And content creation can encompass anything from blogging to podcasting to online courses, maybe even building a YouTube following.
That's right.
And then there are service-based businesses, offering your skills and expertise directly to clients. It seems like that could be a pretty broad category.
It is. Think of things like consulting, coaching, graphic design, writing, virtual assistants. The possibilities are vast. And the speaker in our source material was particularly enthusiastic about service-based businesses, especially for those just starting out.
Why is that? What makes service-based businesses so appealing, especially in the early stages of building wealth?
Well, one of the biggest advantages is the low barrier to entry. You often don't need a lot of capital to get started. Many service-based businesses can be launched with just a laptop and an internet connection.
So you can literally start building a side hustle while still working your 9 to 5. That's a huge plus for people who aren't ready to quit their job and become full-time entrepreneurs.
Exactly. And service-based businesses also tend to offer a lot of flexibility. You can often set your own hours and work from anywhere.
That's pretty awesome. So for our listener out there who's thinking about taking that first step, what would you recommend? How do they figure out what kind of service-based business to start?
This is where that value zone concept comes back into play. I encourage them to think about the skills and knowledge they already possess. What are they good at? What do they enjoy doing? And perhaps most importantly, is there a market demand for those skills?
So you're encouraging them to create a service that sits right in that sweet spot of their passions, talents, and what people are actually willing to pay for.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to have it all figured out from day one. Start small, experiment, and refine your offerings as you go.
I like that. It takes a lot of the pressure off, knowing that you don't have to have this perfect, fully formed business idea before you even get started.
Absolutely. And the beauty of a service-based business is that it allows you to learn and adapt as you go. You can get real-time feedback from clients and adjust your offerings accordingly.
So we've covered the active vehicle, the sidecar, so to speak, for generating income. Let's talk about that passive vehicle for investing the money we're making.
Right, investing. And I think it's important to address the common misconception that investing is some sort of get-rich-quick scheme. It's not about trying to time the market or find the next hot stock. It's about building long-term wealth through consistent, disciplined investing.
So no Lamborghinis overnight then.
Haha, probably not. But with patience and a sound strategy, you can absolutely build a portfolio that will provide financial security and freedom over the long term.
Okay, so that makes sense. So what's a good starting point for someone who's new to investing? What are some of the key strategies we should be thinking about?
One of the most powerful and accessible investment vehicles, especially for beginners, is the S&P 500 index fund.
S&P 500. That's a term I've heard thrown around a lot. But to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what it means. Can you break it down for me and for our listener?
Sure. Essentially, the S&P 500 is an index that tracks the performance of 500 of the largest publicly traded companies in the United States. Think of it as a basket of stocks that represents a broad cross-section of the American economy.
Okay, so instead of trying to pick individual stocks and hoping you've picked a winner, you're investing in this diversified basket of companies. That sounds a lot less risky.
Exactly. Diversification is key in investing. It's about spreading your risk across multiple assets rather than putting all your eggs in one basket.
And what's so great about this S&P 500 index fund?
Well, for one thing, it's incredibly easy to invest in. You can buy shares of an S&P 500 index fund through most brokerage accounts. And because it's passively managed, the fees are typically very low.
That's a big plus, especially for those of us who are just starting out and don't have a ton of money to invest. But how does this index fund actually grow your money?
One word: compounding. Compounding is the magic of investing. Essentially, it means that your earnings are reinvested, generating even more earnings over time. It's like a snowball rolling downhill, gathering more and more snow as it goes.
I've heard that explained as earning interest on your interest, but to be honest, that always sounded a bit confusing to me. I like the snowball analogy. That makes a lot more sense.
Exactly. And the longer you let that snowball roll, the bigger it gets. Our source material shared a fantastic example to illustrate this point. They talked about investing just £5 a day for 25 years. Based on historical averages, that could potentially lead to a portfolio worth over £1 million.
Wow, that's incredible. It really shows that you don't need to be investing huge sums of money to see significant growth over time. Consistency is key.
Absolutely. Even small, consistent investments can add up to a substantial amount over the long term, thanks to the power of compounding.
Okay, so we've got our active income vehicles. We're diligently investing in our S&P 500 index fund, and that snowball is rolling. What else do we need to be thinking about on this journey to financial success? It seems like we've covered a lot of ground already. Identifying our value zone, choosing the right vehicles for making and investing money. But there's got to be more to it than just that, right?
You're absolutely right. Building wealth isn't just about the mechanics of earning and investing money. It's also about how you manage your most valuable resources, your time, your energy, and your focus.
Okay, so it's not enough to just have a great idea and a solid investment strategy. We need to be smart about how we use our time and energy as well.
Exactly. Our source material talked about this idea of resource allocation. Are you spreading yourself too thin across multiple projects and commitments, or are you laser focused on the things that will truly move the needle toward your financial goals?
I think this is something a lot of people struggle with, myself included. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new ideas and opportunities, but spreading ourselves too thin can actually sabotage our progress.
Absolutely. The speaker and our source shared a really insightful exercise. They suggested visually mapping out how you currently spend your time, your money, and your energy across different areas of your life.
So like actually creating a visual representation of where your resources are going. That's a really interesting idea. I could see how that would help you identify areas where you might be overspending, or conversely, where you might need to invest more.
It's all about finding that balance. The speaker admitted that in the early stages of building their business, they went through a period of intense focus, working almost around the clock. And while they acknowledged that this wasn't sustainable in the long run, it did allow them to achieve significant breakthroughs in a relatively short period.
So there's a time for intense focus, for pouring all your energy into a specific goal. And then there's a time for finding more balance, for prioritizing your well-being and relationship.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that different seasons of life might require different approaches to resource allocation.
It's also about being honest with yourself about what you can realistically handle at any given time. Sometimes saying no to certain opportunities, even if they sound exciting, is the best way to protect your time and energy for the things that truly matter.
That brings us to another crucial concept, avoiding shiny object syndrome. It's that tendency to jump from one exciting idea to the next without ever really committing to anything long enough to see real progress.
Oh, I think we've all been there at some point. You get distracted by the latest trend or the next big thing, and suddenly your focus is pulled in a million different directions.
And the result, you end up spinning your wheels, making little to no meaningful progress towards your goals.
So how do we combat this shiny object syndrome?
Mhm.
How do we stay focused and committed to our chosen path?
It's about setting clear goals, establishing priorities, and learning to say no to distractions. It's about reminding yourself that building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint.
It's about trusting the process and staying the course, even when things get tough or when other opportunities beckon.
And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the mindset needed for success. Our source material emphasized the importance of viewing challenges as opportunities for growth, rather than roadblocks.
So it's about shifting our perspective from, I can't do this, to, how can I overcome this?
Exactly. The speaker talked about encountering numerous obstacles on their journey to financial success. Dyslexia, lack of formal qualifications, even workplace bullying. But instead of letting these challenges defeat them, they use them as fuel to push themselves harder.
They shared a really powerful question they would ask people who claim they couldn't achieve something. I know you can't right now, but if you could, what would you do?
It's about shifting the focus from limitations to possibilities.
It's about tapping into your resourcefulness and creativity to find solutions, even when the path ahead seems uncertain.
It's about cultivating a belief in yourself and your ability to achieve your goals, even when faced with adversity.
And that belief is often fueled by continuous learning and growth. Just as compound interest amplifies your financial investments, continuous learning compounds your knowledge and expertise.
It's like you're constantly adding tools to your toolbox, expanding your skill set, and deepening your understanding of the world. And the more you learn, the better equipped you are to make informed decisions, to spot opportunities that others might miss, and to navigate the complexities of building wealth.
It's not just about formal education either. While it provides a valuable foundation, it's the real-world experience, the constant seeking of knowledge, the willingness to learn from our mistakes that truly sets us apart.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of financial success, I want to leave our listener with a few key takeaways. Remember, it's not just about the numbers. It's about understanding your own performance gap, identifying your unique value zone, and choosing the right vehicles to get you to your destination.
It's about being strategic with your resources, your time, your energy, your focus, and recognizing that sometimes saying no is the best way to protect your progress.
It's about cultivating an unwavering belief in yourself, even when faced with obstacles. And it's about embracing continuous learning as a lifelong journey.
And perhaps most importantly, it's about taking action. The strategies and insights we've discussed today are only valuable if you actually put them into practice.
So as we leave you today, I want to challenge you with this question. What's one small step you can take today to start bridging your own performance gap. It could be as simple as reading a book, researching investment options, or brainstorming a side hustle idea.
The important thing is to start moving, to take that first step, and then another, and another. The journey to financial success might be long, but it's filled with incredible opportunities for growth and fulfillment. So keep learning, keep growing, and keep reaching for your dreams. Until next time.